Leave you with this shot from our tall tower cam and reminding you that WRAL News at 6 starts right now.
This traffic backup is all people waiting in line for a drive-through COVID testing site. It's like that at all 3 locations in Wake County today. I'll tell you what the county is doing to respond to a rush of people getting tested.
Loaded guns left in vacation rental homes. We were shocked at how often it's happening. The specific places police say you need to search before you settle in.
It's a week of heat where we're topping out. Plus, we're focusing on this area of the tropics, what the current models are hitting at.
Take a look at this behind me. Demand for COVID testing very high today in Wake County. This was the line as people waited nearly an hour at one of the county sites. Right now on WRAL, we asked Wake County how they plan to catch up with the demand. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Crabtree.
And I'm Deborah Morgan. Wake County personnel have performed 15,000 COVID tests in just the last 8 days. That's double the number performed in the entire month of June. WRAL's Matt Tallhelm joins us now live. And Matt, what's the county's plan?
Deborah, Wake County tells me it is considering ramping up these COVID testing efforts, kind of like what we saw at the height of the pandemic. All 3 locations are closed. This is one of those COVID testing drive-through sites. They put these cones out here right at 5 o'clock, so the last car in the lot was the last one in at 5 o'clock when this closed, even though there were about 30 cars out there on the street heading over to Departure Drive, and all 3 sites in the county saw those long lines spilling out into the streets. Jo Lewis and her daughter are getting tested for COVID for the 3rd time in a week.
The first test came back negative from here, and then the second test actually came back positive.
But this morning's trip was unlike the others.
We was able to go right through the line.
They talked with us over the phone as their car crept slowly in a long line of traffic that spilled out onto the street toward the parking lot testing site on Departure Drive.
It might be a good idea to get some more sites going.
Traffic backed up around all 3 Wake County Public Health drive-through testing sites today. Sky 5 flying over the Kidd Road site this morning shows the line of cars looping out onto the street. People there tell WRAL News they waited for more than an hour.
We don't want to see someone waiting for an hour, but that was the reality back when demand was this high before, and we asked for patience.
Wake County has already done more than 15,000 tests this month. That's 2,000 more than the entire month of July and double June's testing total. Public Health spokesperson Stacey Beard tells WRAL News the county is working with its testing vendors and the state to expand hours and add sites.
We're working very quickly, and we don't know if we can do 7 days. It depends on testing vendor availability.
Ethan Porter and Eliza Kranz tried the Kidd Road site first.
The line was down the block and around the corner. It was probably like a couple blocks, actually.
Before heading over to Departure Drive, only to find another long line of people waiting to get tested.
I think it's pretty indicative that COVID is back in force.
The last car in the line here took about 45 minutes or so to get their testing done. Wake County is also working with its vendors to make sure that testing can continue in inclement weather. Saturday, during some of the rain, we saw several sites actually shut down by surprise, so people showed up and couldn't get a test. They saw that they were closed. The county says it does not want that to happen again. The county is also encouraging you to go online to its website and order an at-home testing kit. They ship overnight. You get the test results in about the same amount of time as you would if you came here and waited in one of those lines. Deborah.
Good to know about these options. Matt Tallhelm live in Raleigh. Thank you, Matt.
Bears out in the numbers. We're seeing COVID numbers we have not seen since the first of the year. Take a look at a few of these. More than 6,800 new cases yesterday alone. We haven't seen a daily count that high since the end of January. And remember, fewer testing sites are open on the weekends. And here's a look at what this does to the curve. And take a look in particular at the very end of this, how sharp that curve has risen. We're now reporting an average of 4,320 cases a day. The uptick is very pronounced again at the end of the curve. Hospitalizations are at their highest point since February. Almost 2,000 people are hospitalized with COVID across the state, an increase of 231 since Friday.
Hello, I'm Mark Boyle in the WRAL Live Center. We've talked about those incentive cards that they've been running out, right, to go get the vaccine. Well, we're finding out new this evening at 6 o'clock that these $100 cards are now available. Take a look at your screen. This is the new information coming in right now. So $1.8 million in summer cards newly distributed to providers. That is new within the past 30 minutes. These are those $100 for the first dose shot summer cards, and $25 up for grabs for if you want to be a driver and take someone to get them vaccinated. All of this part of the state's plan to get the shots out as quickly as possible and get those numbers up. Back to you.
All right, Mark, thank you. Lawmakers in the State House are talking about issues that will impact your wallet. Proposals to lower taxes and give raises are part of the spending proposal rolled out in just the last few hours. WRAL's Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie is live at the Legislative Building now with the details. Laura?
Deb, House leaders are proposing fairly modest raises for teachers and state employees and a smaller tax cut than the Senate had initially proposed. They say the big news in their House budget this year is capital investment, and a lot of it. The House budget includes an average 5.5% raise for teachers, although the actual raises vary widely depending on seniority. State employees would see raises of 5%. Both are larger raises than the Senate proposed, but the governor wanted even bigger raises for teachers. All employees would receive at least a $500 bonus, higher for frontline workers. Representative Jeff Elmore is one of the budget writers.
How do we handle the federal funds to be able to give back to our workers that were on the front lines in the depths of the pandemic?
On tax cuts, the House wants to reduce the personal income tax by 0.25% next year, putting it just under 5%. They're also proposing to raise the standard deduction, also known as the zero tax bracket, to $25,500 for married couples filing jointly. And they would reduce but not eliminate the corporate income tax. Instead of spending more on larger tax cuts, the House wants to spend money on capital needs and infrastructure. They're proposing to invest about $9 billion over the next few years for everything from aging water and sewer infrastructure to flood mitigation and expanding broadband. Representative Jason Saines says connectivity is essential.
But it's incredibly important that we get that connectivity out there, that we push that out to every part of the state. As you know, we're dealing with this pandemic, but we don't know what's into the future. But if we plan for this, if we have that connectivity, we can adjust and adapt quickly.
House leaders say that they're able to afford that kind of investment because they're sitting on a current budget surplus of more than $6 billion in the state coffers. That is a record. Now, what we hear, we're told that the House is going to finish work on this the end of this week. We still haven't even seen the budget document yet. That's going to come out later tonight. So we'll be looking at that very carefully. And of course, this is just one more step. They still have to come to a deal with the Senate and the governor before this is all a done deal. Back to you.
Yeah, this is never an easy process. Laura Leslie, live in Raleigh. Thank you, Laura.
The one reason the state has so much money to spend, state accountants say it took in 25% more revenue than a year before. The Office of Budget and Management reports the state collected $29.7 billion in revenue for the fiscal year ending June 30th. That's nearly $2 billion more than economists had predicted during the pandemic. Lawmakers began another process today that will impact all of us for years to come. It's the process of redrawing voting maps. Republican leadership laid out their criteria for the maps today. The real work begins later this week when the state receives the 2020 census results. We already know North Carolina gained enough people in the past decade to pick up an additional seat in the U.S. House. The census will release more localized information on population growth Thursday. That's what lawmakers will use to decide where the extra district should be.
Starting next year, East Carolina University will have a satellite program at Wake Tech. The agreement was signed today. ECU faculty will teach in-person classes on Wake Tech's southern campus and will open an office there. The classes will be part of a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Technology and will be taught in the evenings to accommodate students who can't make the commute to Greenville. Cumberland County Public Library received a grant to help community members with internet access. Nearly $96,000 will be earmarked for the Connecting the Last Mile Digital Inclusion Project. The move will give users access to the internet and teach the skills needed to navigate it.
5 on your side has a warning from police before you take your next trip out of town.
Staying at a hotel or vacation rental anytime soon? There's apparently something that many travelers take with them but forget to take back home, and police warn it could cost a life. Coming up, see some of the guns visitors left behind.
We're watching some upper-level energy triggering storms across the Ohio Valley and the Deep South right now. That moves into our area tomorrow. We'll show you what it could do to our thunderstorm chances for Tuesday coming up.
Tonight, the hospital crunch, the surge of COVID cases forcing some tough choices at overwhelmed hospitals. Also, my exclusive interview with the CEO of United Airlines about the company requiring all its U.S.-based employees to be vaccinated on Nightly News.
On July 23, 1993, basketball superstar Michael Jordan's father, James Jordan, was murdered in North Carolina.
This is the father of the most famous athlete on the planet, and on his 57th birthday, he was an unidentified dead man in the middle of nowhere.
From WRAL Studios, available now is Follow the Truth, where we dig into the story of the James Jordan murder and the man who says he didn't do it.
I know that if this was not Michael Jordan's father, I wouldn't be in prison.
We'll question the evidence.
Is it possible for a man to be shot in his car and authorities not find any blood?
Our ballistics expert says it couldn't have happened.
Shed light on the mystery that has always surrounded the murder.
Whether his financial dealings could have had anything to do with his death.
And uncover bombshell new developments.
Here we are a quarter century later, and the back cover on this whole murder case isn't yet closed.
Follow the Truth on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen.
Welcome back to the Live Center. I'm Mark Boyle, one of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers. This is a photo of her right here. She is now accusing and suing Prince Andrew of assault that happened when she was 17. Here is more video of the person who is making these accusations and these claims. Her name is Virginia Giuffre. She said in the suit that this abuse happened back when she was 17, so several years ago. More information online on WRAL.com as this story continues to break tonight. Back to you.
All right, Mark. Duke researchers want to know how often COVID-19 causes heart inflammation among elite athletes. A new study will enroll 300 college, professional, and Olympic athletes across the country. 200 have had COVID and 100 have not. They will all undergo heart tests and participate in ongoing monitoring via a health app. The goal is to establish the symptoms and determine how often COVID-19 results in heart inflammation among athletes. A mask mandate is now in effect in almost all indoor spaces in Durham County, with few exceptions. It started about an hour ago. The mayor says it was common sense because of the Delta variant and rising cases. He says the mandate will be reevaluated regularly. Durham's citywide mandate is one of the first to call for masking in most indoor spaces. Many of the counties in our area, however, have already enacted their own mandates. All of the cities and the counties highlighted here on this map are requiring masks inside government buildings regardless of vaccination status. Now compare this map to now this one. Here we're talking about schools. The red counties are the ones where the school systems will require masks in the upcoming school year. The 4 yellow counties you see here, these are where masks will be optional in schools, and the green counties have not yet made a decision. 3 of those, Franklin, Vance, and Moore, meet within the next hour to talk about the issue. We are keeping this map up to date on WRAL.com.
We have all forgotten something in a hotel room. A gun? Well, lately, police are seeing loaded guns left behind in hotels and vacation rentals. And 5 on Your Size has an alert straight from the police that you'll only find on WRAL.
Although it doesn't really matter where the hotel or vacation rental home is located, this is something to be aware of. It turns out loaded guns being brought on vacation and then left behind happens more often than we might think. A semi-automatic gun left in a nightstand of a vacation home in the Outer Banks. A Glock brand pistol left under a mattress at a nearby hotel. Police in Kill Devil Hills recovered both weapons on the same day last month. So far this summer, the department has responded to 9 such calls.
Most of the time, it's a cleaning company that finds the gun.
Detective Sergeant Brian Strickland has worked in nearby Kitty Hawk for decades. He detailed a few of his recoveries.
Fully loaded, ready to go, and then don't even know they left it. In a nightstand. There was a gun in the house for several months. Come to find out, the person had rented the house like 3 or 4 months earlier. It's just that nightstand was never opened, but that gun was there the entire time.
When he tracked down the owner,
He was emphatic that he had his gun. I said, it's this kind of gun, it's this make, this model. We have it. ATF says that you're the owner of it. No, I've got it. And then he finally went and looked for it. He couldn't find it.
other odd gun finds. A WRAL photojournalist found this loaded gun in a gas station restroom in Onslow County. Strickland told us an officer even found one on the side of Highway 12.
Contact the owner. They said, I know I had lost it, but I didn't know where I had lost it. Said they had placed it on top of their vehicle, drove off. How many did we not find? I think there's probably unknown numbers of those.
The top concern?
Child finds the gun, and then we have an accidental discharge, as they say, and somebody gets hurt or killed.
Which is why police want to share the message to prevent a horrible accident.
If you're going to take your handguns with you or any guns with you, make sure they're locked up. And don't leave them.
So one idea, tell an adult who is with you about the gun, or even set a reminder on your phone the last morning of vacation to help you remember. And if you stay in a hotel or rental home, check the drawers as soon as you arrive. And if you find a weapon, call police. Monica La Liberty, WRAL News 5 on your side.
That's stunning. And in case you're wondering, Detective Strickland says forgotten guns are not shipped to their owners. The owners must pick them up in person.
Quite eye-opening.
Under the mattress.
Yeah.
I knew I couldn't sleep well on that. But it's very serious. It's a very serious story.
It certainly is, especially if you have children who are going to be coming
Yes.
into the house. You've got to just make sure you check. But boy, look, speaking of checking, let's check out the beach. Look at how beautiful that looks, David.
It's a beautiful scene.
The beach is always stunning, isn't it?
It is
Even though I
definitely.
know meteorologist Mike Mays there with the Severe Weather Center and everything behind you that could change in a matter of days.
Yes, we're watching to see where eventually this is expected to become Tropical Storm Fred later on tonight. We're going to watch down the road to see if it will impact North Carolina. If it does, it would be sometime early next week. Too early to tell with confidence if that's going to be the case. Now, we have potential tropical cyclone number 6. The reason why the Hurricane Center went ahead and named it this, because they wanted to start issuing warnings to the islands, to the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, also the Dominican Republic, and naming it PTC 6 allows them to do that. There's no low-level circulation just yet. It has winds at 35 miles per hour. When it forms a closed low, they're going to go ahead and call it Fred, which should be likely later on tonight. Now, on average, the 6-named storm develops on August 28th. Last year, the F-named storm, the 6-named storm, developed on July 9th, a full 30 days earlier than this year. Now, there's the forecast track and intensities expected to become Fred later on tonight. Top winds by 2 a.m. Wednesday at 50 miles per hour. It is not forecast at this point to become a hurricane. It'll interact with Hispaniola on this track, likely to rip it apart somewhat, probably not completely, and then eventually end up in the Gulf of Mexico, maybe crossing over Florida. And it's too early to tell, but it's quite possible we could see some remnants here at some point early next week. Your job is to keep checking in with us. We'll tell you what's the latest. We'll have new information, the new numbers at 11 o'clock here on WRAL. Earlier today, there were some showers over Franklin County, Vance County, Warren counties. They have all dissipated, but there's a better opportunity perhaps for thunderstorms come tomorrow, and I'll show you why in a moment. Here's a look at the WRAL Live Cam Network. Blue sky over Clinton. You guys are having a good afternoon. Hello, Fayetteville. You had a high of 92 today. Chapel Hill looking good. And Durham with the WRAL Newsroom. We have you covered. It's quiet around the corner. The Durham Bulls aren't playing this evening. So if you're going to be walking the dog this evening, be careful on the pavement. It's going to be very hot. It's 88 right now at RDU, 86 at 7, 8 o'clock, about 83. And our forecast low tonight will be in the low 70s. And there's plenty of heat and humidity to go around this week. So here's a potent area of low pressure in the upper atmosphere. Tornado watch around the Chicago area. Some of this energy will move into the region during the day tomorrow. So we think we'll see a few more thunderstorms fire up tomorrow afternoon and evening. Here's Futurecast. Lunchtime, quiet with partly cloudy skies. During the afternoon, we started to see some showers and storms form off to the west. 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and evening, some thunderstorms starting to move into the area. And then once we get past 8 o'clock, once the sun sets, these will gradually die down. We'll look for quiet weather overnight tomorrow night. More storms, though, are on the way. You'll see see that in the 7-day coming up. Warm and muggy tonight, lows in the low 70s, 71 in Raleigh, 72 in Fayetteville. And then for the day tomorrow, a few late day storms. It's hot, it's humid, our high at 91, 92 in Fayetteville. That heat index value about 103. More low of 100 heat index values through Friday, highs in the low 90s. And if we see any remnants from what should become Fred, maybe early next week, Deb.
All right, a lot to keep watching. Thank you, Mike. Chris Lee joining us now with what's happening in sports.
Yeah, the Wolfpack and the Tar Heels want to take the next step towards success. That means some changes are coming for both teams. Ahead in sports, how the Tar Heels are planning to give themselves more life in late game situations, and how a position change has motivated one Wolfpack player. That and more next in sports.
It's Jamie and Sarah, and we are back with another fresh, sparkly new episode of Wine and Dandy, which leads us nicely into what we're talking about.
That's
Sarah.
right. So refreshing. We're talking about hard seltzers. And I'll tell you what, there are some new ones on the market that may change your mind about hard seltzers. Join us. You can find our podcast at WRALFM.com, as well as your Apple Podcast app and anywhere you find your podcast.
Just look for Wine and Dandy. Once you search and find it and enjoy it, please tell all your friends. Share the link with them.
And be sure to follow us, because wine is fun and we intend to prove it.
All right, let's rewind to last season for the North Carolina Tar Heels. The games they lost seemed to all fall apart in the fourth quarter. I'm talking Virginia, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, you remember. So this season, the team has a new mantra: fewer plays, more production. The Heels want to get in more players so they can throw in fresher bodies towards their opponents and develop a deeper rotation.
I think we're at a point now where we've got a lot of players where I'm like, this kid has got to play. You know, he's got to be in certain situations. And so when you've got more kids that have earned the right to play, earned the trust of their teammates and their coaches, now you have more people in the game.
Moving on to Raleigh, when you're a top star player in football in high school, well, you're one of few. When you get to college, you're one of many. For former Southeast Raleigh quarterback Dylan Parham, well, getting to campus at NC State means he had to switch to tight end. He's number 28 on your screen. So moving to tight end meant that he was going to get on the field a lot quicker. Meant that he also needed to gain some weight. Well, he's put on 50 pounds for head coach Dave Doran. And now in his 6th year, he's the most physical blocker that Coach Doran has ever had.
It definitely is like a rewarding feeling, you know, coming across and just knocking out defenders. And also, too, I knew I was going to have to figure out something that kind of set me apart from the rest of the room. So I kind of just embraced it and progressively got better and better. And that's why I enjoy doing it now.
On Friday, the Carolina Panthers had to test out their new field turf surface at Bank of America Stadium during Fan Fest. Of course, turf is known to make fast players a lot faster, but it's also known to cause a few more leg injuries. Today, one Panthers player made it known that he misses the grass at Bank of America Stadium.
Personally, I wish that it still was the grass. That was one thing I really enjoyed when I came to Carolina, like from playing up there in MetLife and dealing with the turf. You know, I really did like playing on that grass, but you know, it is what it is. Like, it's what we got to deal with, so.
Best hair on the Panthers. And it's looking like the Hornets draft pick will fit right in. In Summer League first-round draft choice, Kai Jones broke out this highlight reel dunk yesterday. The Hornets are an athletic up-and-down team, but they needed someone to man the paint. This guy can man the paint. It looks like he can do that. Plus, the Hornets signed James Borrego, their coach, to a multi-year extension. Everything looking like it's going pretty well in Charlotte so far when you have athletes like that.
That was, I mean, how far he flew in the air, that arm. Oh, my goodness.
It's crazy.
Thanks, Chris.
And thanks for joining us. Nightly News is next as Lester asks the head of United Airlines, could a vaccine mandate be coming?
And then stay with us for our news at 7 o'clock. Good night.